I'm heading to the French Riviera, where my grandfather was captured by U.S. troops. I'm very curious to find out, was he taken by force? Did he surrender willingly? How did my grandfather's war end? Roger suggested I speak with military historian Dr. Steve Weiss, who's asked me to meet him at a beach in San Rafael.
I hope that you have some information about my grandfather, Carl.
I want you to meet me here because this is the most likely place where your grandfather was taken prisoner and captured, on this beach.
Really?
And in fact, I was an 18-year-old combat infantry soldier who landed here on August 15th, 1944.
And then you took him, maybe. Somebody took him.
Well,
Thank God.
Well, absolutely.
And so what was it like when you guys came onto the beach? You were on boats?
We landed here 9:45 in the morning. There were artillery emplacements around in the hills, and your grandfather probably was one of the soldiers who was manning cannons, firing at us when we were trying to get across the beach.
Oh, wow.
We were very powerful, well organized, as contrast to the Germans who were not, because they weren't planning to stay here and defend this area. They were already leaving.
And so if my grandfather was here, I mean, were people just kind of surrendering, or did you have to capture these German soldiers, or did you kill a lot of German soldiers? I would presume.
I would say a combination of all three. But a soldier is not trained to surrender. A soldier is to fight. And I would imagine that your grandfather had a lot of emotional experience in terms of deciding whether to continue to fight or to surrender. And I would imagine that in his deliberations, he decided to surrender.
I always wondered what he must have been going through during that time.
I think a lot.
Yeah.
So what would have happened to the prisoners once they did surrender or once they were captured?
I have something to show you that will indicate what happened to the prisoners of war.
That's August 16th, 1944.
Yes, that's one day after the landings. There was an American military photographer on the beach as the German soldiers were being gathered as prisoners of war. These are the big ships, landing craft tanks. They're going to board these ships and be taken to prisoner of war camps.
Wow, this is amazing. I can't believe you have footage of this.
So one of those guys is probably my grandfather.
One of those men could have been your grandfather.
Just think he might be in this is pretty amazing.
Thank you so much for showing this to me.
You're very welcome.
So how did you as Americans feel towards the German soldiers?
Well, on a personal basis, because I'm Jewish, it was all according to who I met. If I met an SS soldier, we had a problem.
You could clearly identify the SS soldier versus a regular German soldier.
Yes, either by his uniform or his arrogance. Whereas the average German soldier, there was a fellowship. But when it came to Nazis, it was altogether different attitude.
I would imagine. Can you imagine being an SS soldier and getting captured by a Jewish soldier?
You can imagine what the world would have been like if they won.
Being on this beach and knowing that my grandfather was here, it's an amazing feeling. I think he would probably be super happy to know that we know how he felt about the war and, you know, where he was captured. It's meaningful family history for me. Looking today at that video and seeing the looks of relief on the soldiers' faces was exactly what I wanted to see. It kind of brings it all together about my grandfather and probably the way he was feeling about the war, and it feels good. I think also being here with Steve, who's a Jewish American, was kind of a great full circle for me also. And I can say that I am proud to be a Jewish American. Thank you so much for coming and seeing me.
My pleasure.
Hi, Roger. It's Chelsea, handler.
Hi, Chelsea. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Not bad, thank you. No, I've been doing some work researching where your grandfather was taken after he was captured by the Americans.
Yeah?
You have always thought he was taken to Montana.
Well, I'm usually wrong. Where was he taken, do you know?
He was actually taken to Iowa.
Iowa. Oh my goodness, from the south of France to Iowa. I'm such a lucky girl.
Chelsea Handler is flying into Algona, Iowa, where her grandfather was sent as a prisoner of war. She is about to find out how his time in the German army came to a close.
Delta cross to a left and to a right.
It's sad to think that my grandfather had to leave his young family back in Germany when he became a POW. So I've arranged to meet with local historian Jerry Yoakum, who I hope can shed some light on how my grandfather's experience here transformed him from a defeated soldier into the grandfather I knew and loved.
Where this airfield now stands is where the prisoner of war camp, Camp Algona, was located.
So he would have spent 2 or years or however long he spent exactly here?
Here in living in barracks on this site.
Oh, wow.
You can imagine looking in the distance, you could see up to 187 different buildings on a 287-acre site. And in barracks, there would have held up to 2,500 prisoners.
So from Russia to the south of France to Iowa. That's quite a journey.
It is quite a journey, yes. Many of the things that were in the camp are now in a museum in Algona. We'd love to show you if you'd like to go.
Well, I would love to see that.
Well, let's go.
Okay, who's driving?